In the quiet chambers of a man's soul, where dreams and fears collide, society has woven a subtle yet insidious lie, that a man's worth is measured by the adoration in a woman's eyes, that his purpose is tethered to her approval, that his existence is complete only when she chooses him. This lie, whispered through generations, has led countless men to surrender their inner fire, to trade their sovereignty for the fleeting mirage of idealized love. Yet the more they pour themselves into this pursuit, the more they erode, becoming shadows of the vibrant, unbreakable beings they were born to be. This is not a lament to cast blame on women, nor a call to manipulate or withdraw, but a thunderous summons to men to turn inward, to forge a life so radiant it commands the world's gaze, without ever begging for it. With each sentence, let us unravel the myriad ways men give away their power in relationships, how they barter their individuality for a hollow vision of love, and how, through self-reflection and resolute boundaries, they can reclaim their sovereignty and become men who stand as mountains in a world of shifting sands. From the first word, let this truth seize you, compel you, and guide you to a destiny where you are not defined by her love, but by the unshakable self you choose to become. The world seduces men with a promise as old as time. Win her heart, and you will be whole. This belief drives men to orbit around women, offering endless streams of attention, validation, and devotion, believing that these offerings will secure a lasting bond. But in this act of orbiting, men relinquish their power, tying their self-worth to her fleeting moods. They become predictable, their every action a silent plea for her approval, and in doing so, they lose the primal spark that makes them magnetic. Consider the man who spends hours crafting the perfect text, agonizing over each word to elicit her response, only to feel his confidence crumble when she replies with indifference. Or picture the man who abandons his passions, his music, his writing, his dreams of adventure, to fit into her vision of a perfect partner, hoping this sacrifice will make him indispensable. These are not acts of love, they are acts of surrender. By reshaping himself to mirror her desires, he trades his sovereignty for servitude, mistaking her temporary affection for the enduring strength of self-respect. Take another example. The man who stays late at a job he despises, not to fulfill his own ambitions, but to provide her with the lifestyle he thinks she expects. He gives away his time, his energy, his very life force, believing that material provision will bind her closer. Or consider the man who swallows his opinions, tiptoes around her emotions, and avoids conflict at all costs, fearing that asserting himself will drive her away. In these moments, he hands over his voice, his truth, his power, becoming a ghost in his own life. The pursuit of idealized love becomes a transaction where he offers his individuality as currency, hoping to purchase her loyalty. But the more he gives, the less he becomes, his essence dissolving into the background noise of a world that rewards conformity over courage. This surrender is not merely a loss of self, it is a betrayal of destiny. Every time a man reshapes his life to fit her expectations, he chips away at the unique fire that makes him whole. He becomes interchangeable, one of countless men who beg to be chosen, their lives a blur of predictable patterns. Yet there is a deeper truth, one that burns with both challenge and promise. A man's greatest strength lies not in winning her heart, but in forging his own. When a man turns his gaze inward, confronting the loneliness, the hunger for validation, the fear of rejection that lurk within his shadows, he begins a pilgrimage toward sovereignty. This is not a journey of cruelty or detachment, but of courage, the courage to stand alone, to build a life so compelling it needs no external applause, to set boundaries that protect his soul while honoring those he loves. Imagine a man who rises each morning, not to check his phone for her reply, but to pour himself into his craft, writing a novel, building a business, training his body with relentless discipline. Picture him choosing friends who challenge his growth, not those who flatter his ego, and carving out time for solitude to wrestle with his fears and dreams. This man does not chase her affection, he chases his own becoming. In doing so, he becomes a gravitational force, not because he seeks to be noticed, but because he has ceased to need it. Women, sensing his unshakable core, project onto him the qualities they long to embody: strength, certainty, independence. His sovereignty becomes a mirror, reflecting back their own unclaimed potential, and in that reflection they find themselves drawn, not by manipulation, but by the raw power of his authenticity. This is not about playing games or feigning indifference. It is about living with such integrity that pretense becomes unnecessary. A man who ignores a woman's tests while secretly craving her approval is a charlatan, and the world will unmask him. But the man who has faced his shadows, his neediness, his fear, his emptiness, radiates a quiet power that cannot be faked. Consider the man who, when faced with her emotional withdrawal, does not rush to soothe her, but instead holds his ground, calmly stating his truth without malice. He sets a boundary, not to punish her, but to honor himself. Or picture the man who, when tempted to cancel his plans to accommodate her last-minute demands, politely declines, choosing to prioritize his commitments to his own growth. These acts of sovereignty are not rejections of love, they are affirmations of self, declarations that his life has value beyond her validation. To maintain sovereignty in relationships, men must master the art of boundaries, clear, compassionate, and unshakable. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out, but fences that protect the sacred ground of one's identity. For example, a man might establish a boundary by refusing to engage in endless arguments designed to provoke his reaction. Instead, he calmly states, "I'm here to talk when we can both be respectful," and walks away until the storm passes. This is not abandonment. It is strength, signaling that he values mutual respect over emotional chaos. Another man might set a boundary by dedicating specific hours to his work or passions, communicating to his partner, "This time is for my growth, and it makes me a better man for myself and for you." By honoring his own needs, he teaches her to respect his space, fostering a relationship built on mutual sovereignty rather than codependence. Real-world examples abound of men who lose themselves in the pursuit of love. A talented artist who stopped painting to take a corporate job, believing it would impress his girlfriend with stability. Years later she left, citing his lack of passion, and he was left with neither her nor his art. Or a man who spent years apologizing for his ambitions, shrinking his dreams to avoid outshining his partner, only to find her drifting toward a man who unapologetically pursued his own path. These men gave away their power, not because women demanded it, but because they feared the discomfort of standing firm in their truth. Contrast these examples with a man who, after a painful breakup, committed to rebuilding himself, training daily, launching a business, and setting boundaries in new relationships. When his ex returned, drawn to his newfound confidence, he respectfully declined, choosing a life aligned with his purpose over a return to old patterns. This man's sovereignty made him magnetic, not because he sought to be, but because he had become whole. The path to sovereignty begins with self-reflection, a willingness to face the parts of oneself that beg for external validation. Men must ask, why do I feel empty without her attention? What fears drive me to please her at the cost of my own truth? This introspection is not weakness. It is the forge where strength is born. A practical step is to journal daily, writing unfiltered thoughts to uncover hidden insecurities and desires. Another is to seek solitude, time alone in nature, meditation, or quiet reflection, to hear the voice of one's own soul. These practices strip away the noise of external expectations, revealing a man's core, his mission, his fire. Once a man begins to know himself, he must build a life that reflects his truth. This means pursuing work that ignites his passion, whether it's carpentry, coding, or coaching, and refusing to let it be sidelined for anyone's approval. It means cultivating relationships with friends, mentors, or communities that challenge him to grow, not coddle his ego. It means training his body, not to impress her, but to honor the vessel that carries his purpose. And it means setting boundaries that protect this life. In relationships, maintaining sovereignty requires courage to say no when necessary, to stand firm when tested, and to love without losing oneself. When she tests his resolve with silence or drama, he does not chase. He holds his ground, trusting that his strength will either draw her closer or reveal a mismatch in values. Either way, he remains whole. The tragedy of modern men is not that women reject them, but that they reject themselves. They trade their uniqueness for approval, their mission for momentary affection, their sovereignty for the illusion of love. They become background noise, lost in the collective haze of men who beg to be chosen. But the man who dares to break this script, who builds a life that roars with purpose, becomes a signal in the noise. He is not disposable, because he is not replaceable. His individuality, forged in the crucible of self-reflection, makes him rare, a man who stands alone not out of arrogance, but out of reverence for his own existence. This journey is not without pain. To become whole, a man must face his shadows, the insecurities that drive him to please, the wounds that make him cling, the fears that keep him small. He must sit with the loneliness that surfaces when he stops seeking her validation, the uncertainty that arises when he prioritizes his path. Yet in this discomfort lies liberation. Each step towards self-awareness strips away the chains of external need, revealing a man who is enough in himself. This is the essence of individuation, the process of integrating one's shadows and strengths into a singular, unshakable identity. When a man embodies this, he does not need to chase obsession. It follows him, as a shadow follows light. Men hear this. The pursuit of idealized love is a surrender of power, a betrayal of your own destiny. Every time you reshape yourself to fit her desires, you dim the flame that makes you unique. Every time you seek her validation over your own truth, you trade sovereignty for servitude. But when you choose yourself, when you build a life that excites your soul, when you face your darkness and emerge stronger, when you walk your path with unwavering resolve, you become a force that cannot be ignored. Women do not obsess over weakness. They are drawn to the mystery of strength, the allure of a man who has claimed his own soul. To maintain sovereignty, practice daily acts of courage. When tempted to overextend yourself for her approval, pause and ask, does this honor my purpose? When faced with her emotional tests, respond with calm resolve, not reactive neediness. Set boundaries that protect your time, energy, and values, whether it's reserving evenings for your work, refusing to engage in disrespectful arguments, or prioritizing your growth over her demands. Communicate these boundaries with compassion, not ultimatum, showing that you value both yourself and the relationship. The world is starving for men who dare to be complete, who refuse to beg, who choose themselves not out of selfishness, but out of reverence for the gift of their own existence. Imagine a man who wakes each day to sculpt his life with intention, writing, building, exploring, growing, not to impress, but to become. Picture him standing firm when tested, not out of pride, but out of principle, knowing that his worth is not contingent on her approval. This man is not a dream. He is a choice. He is the man you can become when you stop chasing her and start forging you. So, let this be your compass. Stop asking how to win her heart and start asking how to become yourself. Build a life so vibrant it needs no one's approval to shine. Face your shadows until you are unshakable, your mission until it consumes you, your purpose until it defines you. Set boundaries that protect your soul, not as walls against love, but as foundations for it. In this act of becoming, you will not need to chase love, for love will find you, not as a reward, but as a reflection of your own radiance. The world will notice, women will feel it, but most importantly, you will see yourself clearly for the first time, and in that clarity, you will know the truth. You are not what others think of you, but what you choose to become. Become that man. Let your life be a testament to your sovereignty, a beacon of your individuality, a roar of your purpose. Forge a path so bold that it echoes in the hearts of those who encounter you. The greatest legacy a man can leave is not the love he won, but the self he became. Step into this truth, and you will not only change your life, you will change the world around you. For in the end, the man who has claimed his soul is not just unforgettable, he is eternal.